is I'm going to do a couple demos of doubles so you guys can have an understanding of what's going on. What I want you guys to pay attention to first is kind of just the stipulations of doubles, and then we'll get into the more deeper details. We'll start talking about what I see for times, what I'm looking for in the target, and most importantly, what I'm looking to observe from the gun, from my hands, from my vision. Cool? I'm going to do a quick demo so you guys understand. Pay attention to, like, let's say the stipulations of the exercise. I'm going to draw 2 rounds, audible pause, 2 rounds, audible pause, 2 rounds, audible pause. This is not a bill drill situation where you draw the gun and you go bop, 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 bop for 10 rounds. I don't care how long your pauses are. They just need to be injected in there. The goal of this exercise is that between the pauses, we make micro adjustments. Between the strings of fire after the 10 rounds is when we make macro adjustments, okay? The pauses are in there so that we can make quick observations, quick adjustments, and then send again and receive information. The goal at some point is to be able to shoot so fast that we are receiving tail bits of information at the very end, and that's when we start getting into predictive shooting, but we'll get into that here in just a little bit. Cool? Awesome. All right. Not the best, but okay. When I'm looking at this target, my goal is to look at a fist-sized group to start. All right? Now, first shots of the day, I see a little bit of variance. My goal is to blast that paster out, right? But overall, to start, I'm looking for a fist-sized group. How fast was I shooting? Not terribly fast, correct? Let me ask you this. Did you guys hear audible pauses between the pairs?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay? I want you guys, when you guys perform this exercise, to make sure we are sticking to the stipulations of the exercise and that we are consistently firing the same type of pairs for the entire string. What I don't want to see is you draw the gun, you go bang, bang, pause, bang, bang, pause, bang, bang, and have these varying split times. Does that make sense? We want to have consistent splits so that we can observe what's happening throughout the entire process, so we can start establishing a baseline and where we can make slight corrections. Yes, I want to have a good reflection on the target, but the target is giving me information based on what I am observing in the gun, what I'm observing in the process. Once again, this is more of an observation exercise. Yes, we all like to have a good outcome on the target, but it's not about necessarily the outcome on the target and having perfect hits. So, looking at this target, I don't have anything crazy pushed to the left, I don't have anything crazy pushed to the right, I don't have anything crazy low or crazy high, right? I stuck to the stipulation of the 2 pairs, audible pause, the 2 pair, audible pause, 2 pair, audible pause, so forth. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at my time. As far as my first pair, I had a 24 split. I had an audible pause, I had a 24 split. Audible pause, 23 split. Audible pause, 26 split. So on average, I would say I had a 23 split across the board. I didn't have like a 22 split, then a 35 split, then a 22 split, then a 35 split, or anything along those lines. I'm looking for consistency above all else to start. Okay? So next, for this exercise, what do you think I need to do?
Shoot faster, go faster.
So right, if for some reason everything's looking good, there's 2 things we can do. We can add distance or we can add speed. In this situation, I'm gonna try to turn it up just a little bit. We had, let's say, average of 23 splits. I am not looking to dump the throttle to 12 splits. I'm looking to apply a little bit of throttle. Think of it as a dimmer switch, adding just a little bit of gas to see where things start to fall apart. If I can maintain and hold it, even better. But I want to start seeing minutely what little things I can start adding to the equation and seeing what happens. Once again, more of an observation exercise than anything. Right. Stand by. Still looking fist size group. All right, hands are cold. Honestly, I want this to be half that size, but it is what it is today, okay? Obviously, we got some outside parameters. I mean, what, we're talking like, we're just over the teens in this temperature today, so it's gonna happen. But still nothing push left, still nothing push right, nothing crazy low, nothing crazy high. Let me look at my quick times. 18, 23, 21, and 21. So, had an average, let's bring it right down to like, let's say a 20 instead of a 23 split. All right? I'm gonna say the same distance. Next course of action, increase the speed. Now, I'm gonna push it. I'm gonna add probably a little too much pep to it. I'm gonna hold on. Let's see, because this is going to be quite a bit more aggressive. Let's see what happens. Let's see what the target tells me. Stand by. I hit my timer here. All right. So, one outside the alpha, a little bit pushy, a little bit of tension built up. I'm trying to go fast. I'm trying to go hard. Okay? Looking for a fist size group. Now we're starting seeing a spread. Let's look at the times real quick. 17, 14, 14, and 14. So I turned it up quite a bit. From my 20 to a 14. I say I turned it up quite a bit. Let's be real. That's 600ths of a second. That's negligible in the scope of, let's say, stage time for what each and every single round is sent on target. This is substantially more reckless, correct, than, let's say, a 20 split. If I could deliver a 20 split all day, every day, and keep a fist-sized group in a predictable manner, that is what is going to win me stages. That's what's going to win me matches.
The risk isn't worth the reward.
The risk is not worth the reward, 100%. But in this situation, in practice, we are pushing it because I want my new standard to be a 16 and held at a high probability of success. But what do you think I observed during this exercise in my sights?
Target, probably maybe the dot the first time you drew up, and then just keep staring at the target and the dot would come.
So what I noticed was when I started to increase the speed, I started by picking a small spot, and then I'm sitting there trying to bear down on the gun. I'm trying to bear down. I'm slapping on the trigger straight back. I'm not just completely disregarding trigger fundamentals, as I'm not pushing stuff crazy right or crazy left, crazy right, or low. But what I did find myself was just kind of picking a broad spectrum of a spot opposed to a very, very, very small spectrum of a spot. And then I also noticed myself with this vertical line start getting more sucked into the dot. It wasn't going crazy high. Like, I noticed the dot wasn't floating into the head, and I know the dot wasn't floating in here, but I was concentrating on this streak, if that makes sense. And me getting stuck into that streak, opposed to staying dedicated to a small spot, caused me to start sending rounds in the permission area because it's still on brown, but because I'm not dedicated to a small spot, I start sending things prematurely because my brain is saying, hey, it's in the center of the target, send. No, the goal is to stay as target focused as we possibly can to let that gun come right back to the same spot. So let me do one more. I don't need a 14 split, but I also want faster than a 20, but I want to stick to a tighter control parameter. I still want to stick to that fist size group, okay? No. Stand by. First one was just a tick low. But nothing crazy high, nothing crazy low. Still almost within inside my grip, or my fist. Had one slight low guy, okay? Now, obviously at this distance, at that speed, my goal for all of my shooting, especially when it's nice out, and let's say I'm 400 rounds deep in the doubles exercise, is to keep everything like inside like a silver dollar to start. Once that's done, and I've beat the time down, and I've done everything I possibly can, believe it or not, this is the simplest form of doubles. The next form of doubles is to maintain that same speed back at 12 to 14 yards. That's where this exercise gets extremely challenging. And that's where we get a lot of gains. All right? It's not uncommon for guys to be able to do this type of shooting very aggressively at a relatively close distance. We just need to scale appropriately. Does it make sense? Lastly, let me look at my times. All right, 17, 19, 18, 18, and 16. So I wasn't at a 20, I wasn't at a 14, I'm at right there in the center between a 16 and 17, correct? And I was still able to almost maintain a fist-sized group. I think that's pretty successful. Yes, I want to have a good reflection on the target, but the target is giving me information based on what I am observing in the gun, what I'm observing in the process. Once again, this is more of an observation exercise. Yes, we all like to have a good outcome on the target, but it's not about necessarily the outcome on the target and having perfect hits. Like you had talked about, is this going to be a grouping type of exercise and or 2 rounds with the time? No. This is going to be shooting aggressively, seeing what we need to see, what we need to observe, and then making corrections in our shooting.